So it's time for my second Anthony Edwards video since he got drafted. This one is a bit more positive. In his last 13 games, Anthony Edwards is averaging 18 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, 1 turnover, and he's got a 54% true shooting, which is almost league average, which is pretty impressive given how much he's been shooting the ball as a rookie. And the main thing that I've noticed is that Edwards is attacking the basket more. And it's a few different things that's allowing him to get to the rim. One is they're running more pick and roll for him. They're also running some pin down stuff off of the corner to allow him to get going like to the middle of the floor with some momentum. There was a really good play with the Hornets where they had like a off-ball screen for him that resulted in a cut, but a lot of it's pick and roll. And Edwards is doing a much better job of reading the floor and being more composed and recognizing the right decision, but a lot of it is also Towns is setting the screen for him now. And so, for example, in the Hornets game, there was one play where Zeller was attached to Towns because you're not going to give him any space, of course, right? Edwards recognized that, and he said, well, I'm not even going to use the screen. I'm just going to go the other way because Zeller was not backed up around the free throw line, so then it gave him an easy lane to the basket. He made a shot over Gordon Hayward. There you go. In the Raptors game, it was a little more switching, and they dared Edwards to make a couple mid-rangers. You know, Baines switched onto him, backed up, and he was able to do that. But I think those type of plays could result more in Edwards than beating Baines off the dribble or whatever. The point is that when Towns is setting a screen for Edwards, it just forces the defense to be like, well, we can't give Towns a shot, so it's going to give Edwards opportunities to attack a big guy or just take advantage of the floor being so stretched out. Now, that's only in the last 4 games. If you look at Edwards' 22 points against the Mavs, where Towns was not out there, there was one play where he just beat Luka in an ISO, and then he just dunked because the defense rotated too slow. Another play against Dallas where he just drove immediately off the catch from the top of the key because Kleba was on him. And a similar thing with the OKC game where he had 20 points. There was one play where he took, I think it was Shea off the dribble in transition. There was another pick and roll play with Ed Davis, nowhere near as threatening offensively as Towns. And the big man backed up. He gave Edwards space, and Edwards hit him with a really good Euro step to get him off balance, and he got himself an easy layup. So it's not just Karl-Anthony Towns making Edwards' day easy. He has gotten a lot better at just making those split-second decisions. There's still some floaters, or there's still some evasive layups, or some pull-up mid-rangers where he's got space, but it's definitely still a lot more of shots at the rim and not bailing the defense out. And I also think, and I think you can especially see this in the Dallas game, I think Edwards is not getting a lot of calls right now. Like, if you look at his misses against the Mavs, he probably had about 4 or 5 layups that could have been fouls that they just simply didn't call for him for whatever reason. So if he sticks to this, then I think his free throw attempts are going to start going up as well. I mean, even so, you know, he's had a number of games where he had 4 free throw attempts lately, and that's a big difference from earlier in the season where he had a number of games with 0 free throw attempts. So it's still progress. I think there was one against the Hornets, and I think there was one against the Lakers, where Edwards split a double team in the pick and roll. And it's like, wait a minute, was this the same guy that I watched in the preseason? And there's also been some impressive assists as well. There was one in particular I remember. I don't remember the game it was, but he had a pick and roll possession, and he threw it out to, I think it was Naz Reid in the corner, who has been shooting threes for the Wolves. And sure, some of his assists are routine plays where Malik Beasley just shoots a 3 with a guy in his face, but there's also been others. I mean, there was one where Edwards drove inside, and he literally just like stopped and turned around in midair to throw it to D'Lo, who was wide open above the break. So you can tell that his brain is just working like that as he's driving. I mean, maybe there's a couple possessions here and there where he gets a little tunnel vision-y, but I think the willingness to go inside, the composure when he's around, you know, the free throw line or whatever, and then also noticing the open shooter, and he's clearly thinking about that sort of thing, are all great signs. So he's going in the right direction. Now, the one thing I would want to point out, and this to me is still the elephant in the room with Edwards, it's the 3-point attempts. His threes, I mean, he's at like 38% from three in his last 13 games, but even within that, it's pretty up and down. I mean, he shot 50% from three against the Lakers, then he had 3 games in a row where he didn't shoot well from three, and shot 1 for 7 against the Thunder. That's just kind of the story with Edwards' three-point shooting right now, even if the stuff within the three-point line is getting better. And I think a lot of it is still the pull-ups, contested threes, the occasional step-back three, and I'm still a little concerned about it. I mean, sometimes they just simply go in. It's nice that he's not just doing that, but it is something we're still going to have to monitor with him. Now, some of them are open catch and shoots, and that's fine. The one other thing he does that does annoy me is sometimes he'll pump fake to get the guy closing out of the way. And then instead of driving, because now he's got an open lane, he takes 1 or 2 dribbles to his right or his left, and then he just shoots a 3 anyway. And I just feel like it would be nice if he would turn a couple of those plays where he gets the closeout guy into drives to the basket. But still, he's been a lot better. If I can talk about the Wolves in general, I mean, I think the story with this team is pretty much they don't have Towns or D'Lo for longer than like 15 minutes at a time, it seems. I mean, D'Lo and Cat have only played in 4 games together all year for 90 minutes total. And, I mean, you can say small sample size all you want, but I think any sort of positive lineup data is a great sign for this Wolves team. Those two are a net rating of basically 1, whereas the Wolves' net rating overall, I'm going to assume, is very negative. And then we found out yesterday that D'Lo is going to get surgery and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So, I mean, you know, Malik Beasley's been pretty damn good. I feel like he has become the player that I thought he could be when I kept on saying, why won't the Nuggets play this guy? To be fair, I was not the only one saying that. But I think they're just going to need Beasley to go nuts with a lot of three-point attempts. They're going to need Towns to be amazing. But the thing with that is they don't really have anyone that the defense is really scrambling towards. I mean, if Rubio and Towns run a pick-and-roll play, not saying it can never work, it's just Rubio is so non-threatening as a scorer that it's not something you can really hang your offense on, you know? And so to make up for that, I think you're going to have to see more opportunities for Edwards, and again, I think he's proven that he can handle a little bit more, especially if they help him out with more of those pin down plays, and Towns setting screens for Edwards will help. I mean, Edwards is more of a threat to attack the basket than Rubio is. And besides that, I don't really know, man. This is going to be the season from hell for the T-Wolves. That's just how it is. I mean, I haven't even really talked about their defense because it's kind of like I don't really see the blueprint. I mean, Jared Vanderbilt might be their best defensive player, him or Okogie. But, Okogie is so bad on offense that it's like you can't even really play him for the long stretches, similar to Rubio. And, of course, the worst part about all this with the Wolves is that they only get their pick if it finishes in the top 3. And that's a lottery thing. That's not even a have the worst record in the league sort of thing. So the odds suggest they're not going to get their pick this year, which means they should probably do something to get some sort of a draft pick. And, I mean, you look at the team, like I think they should consider trading Rubio. He's been really bad for them. And, I mean, I get it. Like, the reason they got him is because they thought he could fit in as another ball handler next to D'Lo and be a defender and be a smart guy and all that, but he's just been terrible. And I think they're so desperate for a draft pick, you could consider that one. I don't know if anybody's really going to give you a first for Rubio. I don't think they should trade Beasley. I think he's on a hell of a bargain. He's giving him 20 points a game. I think you just got to hold on to him, even if there's questions about his passing and that sort of thing. It honestly might be to the point where they need to take a hard look at, like, can we get something for Jared Culver? And it's fair to just be like, no, just keep Culver, because why give up on him in his second season? I get that. But if they're going to be this bad and not have a pick, like, that type of scenario forces you to make some tough decisions sometimes. I should say with Rubio, he's been better in his last 2 games. So we'll give him that one. But yeah, man, that's the state of Anthony Edwards. That's the state of the Wolves. Yeah.